may be seated. No, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
Announcements, none. Papers have been laid. Question.
Yes, Honourable Leader of the Opposition, your private notice question.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, I've given notice of the following private notice question addressed to the Honourable Minister of Social Integration, Social Security and National Solidarity, whether in regard to the increase in the age eligibility to benefit from the basic retirement pension as announced in the budget speech 2025-2026, he will state if A, he was consulted in relation thereto, and B, any study has been carried out to assess the social impact thereof. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Yes, Honourable Minister.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Thanks to all members of the National Assembly. I stand today as a Minister of Social Security, Social Integration, and National Solidarity. I'm part of the Cabinet of Ministers, and I'm part of the Alliance du Changement, which was constituted to get rid of the previous government and to bring change in this country. The question today of the PNQ relates to very important issues, very important social and historical issues. I wish to inform the House that the retirement pension in Mauritius has always meant more than just a monthly income. It is a cornerstone of our social contract and reflects our society's recognition of lifelong work and promises dignity to our elders in their final years. To understand the deepness, the depth of the issue, we must begin by looking back at the history of pension in Mauritius. Starting from the pre-independence era and the evolution of times. During the colonial period, especially in times of slavery, I need...
One moment, yes.
My question is very straightforward.
Don't imitate your friend.
My question is very straightforward. We don't need to go
Prime
back
Minister, please.
to the colonial era to reply to this question.
But that's the way, Minister, yes, that's the way he feels, that he must put a context. I can't stop him.
And I think it is too long. Will we give enough time to put my questions, Madam?
I will give you time. Minister,
Yes.
when you go back in history, don't stretch too much.
Yes. Because I noticed that when I was talking on the slavery and indentured period that I was interrupted. During this time, there were no such pensions. The only form of support available was a few years afterward, after the abolition of indentured labor, was the Commandement Fund, a rudimentary form of assistance, not a right. The idea of pensions, it must be remembered, first entered public discourse following the social unrest of sugar estate workers in 1930s. In 1979, Hooper report, formerly titled the Report of the Commission of Inquiry into Unrest on Sugar Estate in Mauritius, recommended the introduction of old age pension, sickness insurance, and support for widows and orphans. Importantly, it stated that these protections must apply to all citizens. The first steps were taken in the 1940s when the colonial governor appointed a committee to study the feasibility of old age pension. In 1941, the committee recommended a contributory scheme. However, it wasn't until 1950 that the government introduced non-contributory pensions as a temporary measure. Payment began in September of that year and were backdated to July. The age to qualify for this pension was 65 years at the time. Progressively, the scheme evolved. In 1953, the qualifying age was lowered to 60 for women, and the pension increased by 20 rupees. By 1957, the means test was abolished, and the pension rose to 22 rupees. In 1948, this is the most important date, the government introduced the universal pension for people aged 60 and above. At the time, there were 25,783 pensioners. Madam Speaker, the system continued to be matured. In 1965, the pension age was fixed at 60 for both men and women. The journey toward a structured social security system had gained momentum in 1958, as I mentioned, when a ministerial committee chaired by the late Honorable Guy Rosemont produced the first report proposing a modern system. A key turning point came in 1976. The National Pension Bill was presented by the then Minister of Social Security, Mr. Honorable K. Tiruvingadam. He credited the vision of Sir Sagar Rambulam, of the trade unions of the time and the MMM of the time, who had spoken about the necessity of a pension system. After 1976, major improvement followed. In 1977, coverage reached 98% of the elderly population. In 1978, a contributory system for private sector employees was launched alongside the continued non-contributory scheme. In 1983, a tiered system of pensions amount was introduced for people aged 90 and over, an increase for different layers of our senior citizens. In 1995, a new tier was created for those over 100 years, our centenaries. From 1996, pensions amount were revised. By 2000, concern emerged as the number of registered pensioners surpassed the estimated number of elderly citizens, raising questions of potential fraud. In 2001, an actuarial reform confirmed, and analysis at the time confirmed, that the system was financially sustainable up to 2040, assuming continuous growth. Madam Speaker, I recall 2008, a pivotal year in my personal journey. As a trade unionist, I participated in difficult negotiations, which led to two major changes at the time: raising the legal retirement age at 65, while retaining the old age pension at 60. It was hard, a hard battle, one that I fought with esteemed trade unionists like Rashid Imrit and the trade union movement for this battle. I wish to highlight that in 2020, the decision, I think 2020, and speak to all honorable members of the Assembly and all the people of Mauritius and all the workers of Mauritius. This is a critical year for the current debate that we are having now. In 2020, the former Minister of Finance decided to stop the payment of contribution to the National Pension Fund via the National Pension Scheme. And this decision was based on erroneous finding and the fact I inquired before this PNQ, which I knew would come. I inquired with the official of my ministry. They were then informed that they were called by the then Minister of Finance. The Minister of Finance asked officers of my ministry to pay 4,500 rupees, the electoral promises of the then government in 2019. They wanted to pay the 4,500 rupee from a contributory pension system. My official refused to pay the contribution of 4,500 rupees.
The pension.
The pension, because pensions are payable based on pension funds of contributors. This is when my officials were nearly kicked out of the meeting, and the minister decided to eliminate the National Pension Scheme. This is the treason. This is the rupture with history. This is what happened. And as a matter of fact, the contribution accrued to the fund was stopped in September 2020. The fund value of NPF was at the time 138 billion rupees. Every year, the fund pays at around 4.5 billion in form of contributory pension. After almost 5 years, the total amount payable was around 20 billion rupees. It is to be noted that as at date, the fund value of the National Pension Fund is 160 billion rupees. Imagine what the size would have been if they didn't stop the contribution at the time. This was a crime against the working people. Instead, after dismantling the National Pension Scheme, they set up the CSG benefits. The CSG was a contribution paid by employees less than 50,000 rupees, 1.5% of their salaries, and above 50,000 rupees, it was 3%. Now, and the CSG was introduced while dismantling the National Pension Scheme for the government to honor their electoral promise. Because since this time, our elderly has become the target of, has been weaponized as an electoral tool, as an electoral weapon. Today, I am a policy maker. The current government is proposing to raise the pension eligibility to 65. This is a serious and challenging decision, not taken lightly. It is driven by the reality of fiscal constraint and demographic changes. I am a leftist. I will die a leftist. But objective facts has to be taken into consideration. We are now living in a country where life expectancy is increasing. On average, men live up to 70 men and women live around 74 years of expectancy. The extended longevity means longer retirement periods and heavier burdens on the pension system. I must stress, when in 1958, the universal pension system, BRP, now called BRP, was introduced, the life expectancy was in between 55 aspect of these figures. But it must, unfortunately, the debate around this pension has become distorted by those with...
Yeah, I will give you. Minister.
Let us return to the facts.
Minister,
Yes, please, madam.
If you're saying is probably already in your reply, but please reply. You know, little a and little b. You've almost finished what you had to say?
I started by, I have the today's paragraph. Today's paragraph. I've come to right now.
Okay.
Let's just return, I would say, to the, I think it's very important to understand the social transfer in Mauritius, because pensions are part of the social transfers. And social transfers are very important and have represented, were it not the existence of social transfers, poverty would have risen to 36.4% in Mauritius. And I think the important point is we cannot ignore the dramatic shift in 2020, okay, when the NPS was abolished and when the CSG was introduced. And at the same time, when the NPF was abolished, there are two other important issues which have been brought on at the time in economic policies. First, the richest people have benefited from exonerous contribution, lack of contribution, I would say. 21 billion rupees of wage assistance scheme paid by the money of the people has been written off by the ex-Minister of Finance. This is in parallel to the dismantlement of the National Pension Scheme. Secondly, as stated by many of my colleagues, there was the introduction of the MIC to the rate of 80 billion rupees, which was meant to support big corporates, which was meant to be directed to cronies living around the previous regime. By repealing NPF, the link between work, contribution, and benefit was severed. Okay? Pension became a politically vulnerable benefit rather than a guaranteed right. Our government acknowledged the fragility of the current system. Despite intense pressure and criticism, we are looking to build a system that is equitable, sustainable, and rooted in shared responsibility between employers and workers. We believe that benefits must be predictable and fair. We have listened. We also know how deeply Mauritian values pension, not only as a financial support, but as a symbol to their contribution to the nation. It is a promise that no one will be left behind. In this context, we acknowledge the valuable input of my party, which submitted detailed proposal after the budget, and who participated almost on a daily basis to subcommittee chaired by the acting Prime Minister.
Yourself, because the question is about you. Were you consulted?
Yes, I'm coming to this. Okay. So when the budget, let me come to this. Whether I was consulted or not, I would, yes, I'm replying. I wish to highlight to the House, that the manifesto of the present alliance made mentions of the necessary restructuring of the pension system. Secondly, as a minister in charge of social security, my ministry submitted proposals for the budget. But I do recognize, and I was consulted as a minister of the cabinet before the budget was presented here. I won't go into the details of cabinet decisions.
You're a member of the cabinet.
That's it. And when we analyzed the budget, my party submitted proposal to partners of the alliances. This is how alliances work. We submitted our views. And this is what I was just saying. After submitting the views, the issues about pension and the new system and what could be done to incorporate the concern and consideration of the people, what could be done was discussed for 1 week. Madam Speaker.
Minister, I'm so sorry.
We have 30 minutes.
Yeah, let me do my job, please.
Almost 25 minutes.
Will you allow me to speak?
Yeah, of course, Madam.
Okay. Minister, we have 30 minutes for this item.
Back. Good.
I have no choice but to extend that time because he hasn't been able to ask any supplementary question. You're not replying to the question, you are actually making your speech. At the same time, Honourable Leader of the Opposition, you chose this particular subject, which is of course of the utmost importance, but we have a budget debate going on. You chose that, so you can't expect him to say in five minutes what...
But it's past 25 minutes.
I will give you time. I will give you time. I will give time exceptionally because the issue is so important. If everybody agrees, we will do that. I'm not going to penalize you, Leader of the Opposition. I don't normally penalize you. Yes. Try and round up. Try and round up, Minister, please.
Yes, Madam Speaker. I need to bring to the attention of the House that of the high level... It's important to bring to the attention of the House
Let's listen to
and the people of Mauritius that there was a high-level committee on pension reforms, okay, when the leader of opposition was in government. I won't go into the detail of the report because of time constraint, but I need to bring to the attention of the House that the terms of reference of the report was exactly on pension system and the BRP. And there were several options. I won't go into the details. Among these options were drastic changes to the BRP system.
Okay.
Okay. And this was under the MSM regime. It is important to note that when the budget was presented, people raised serious concern.
Minister, please. Minister,
And
you have to answer the question. This is a P&Q.
yes, I was consulted as a cabinet minister. My party made representation and this issue was discussed lengthily. And I wish to state that after discussion between ministers and officials of the government, the cabinet took a decision on Monday 16th, 2025. Okay? And as regard to part B of the question, this is where I'm coming. The cabinet has agreed to set up two interministerial committees. One under the chair of the Prime Minister, to look into possible support to those persons.
We know what these two committees are about. Okay.
Okay. Especially, and second, an interior committee under my chairmanship to look all health-related inability worker to work. And this committee has been lengthily detailed yesterday by the Prime Minister. And these committee, the two committees, will analyze all the impact, including the social impact, including the financial impact, including the future generations' interest, our children, grandchildren, and children of our grandchildren. And this would be my answer. I wish to conclude to say that my involvement in this government and does not differ from the objective I had when I was a trade unionist. And I wish to state that we as a government will recognize the right of the workers. I'm concluding.
You're not making a speech.
Yes, I'm just saying that.
No need to conclude.
Yeah. We recognize the right of the workers to organize and to do whatever they need to do to protect.
You will be up on your feet again in a minute.
Yes, madam. Thank you.
Go ahead. Go ahead. Your first supplementary question.
Madam Speaker, this is the first time that I see a minister taking so much time to reply. And in his reply, he has stated something with regard to part B of my question. So the minister is confirming that no study was carried out to assess the impact of such a measure on the population.
Question,
Can you
please.
confirm that?
Yeah.
Again?
Can you confirm? No study was carried out prior.
I must state, Madam Speaker, that presently there are 287,679 beneficiaries of the BRP. And out of these beneficiaries, we have studied that in the first year, that is 60 years, 39% of the beneficiaries are working either in the private or the public sector. The number of working beneficiaries decreased up to 15% of the 15% when they reach 64, attaining 55. So we have studied this. And secondly, I also want to emphasize that the government has decided to maintain the BIP payment, basic invalid pension payment, to all people with disability up to 65 years. Secondly, we have decided to maintain all payment to all widows up to 65. That's for the first part of the answer. The second is that the committee that will be looking into under the chairmanship of the Prime Minister will also assess, will also assess the impact of the changes that we are proposing to bring to workers. Already the law provides for derogations in many sectors, at least 5 sectors from knowledge that I have. These are workers of the sugar industry, the workers of the transport industry, the workers of the construction industry, the workers of the salt pan. So I'm replying to your question. I have said, yes, we have considered and we are still considering. While you repeal the national pension scheme, I have your manifesto here. Okay?
Minister,
Yeah,
let us keep to this question.
You participated in the dismantlement of the national pension scheme, and this was a treason to the people of Mauritius.
One moment. Minister, he will probably be putting a few more questions. please reply to the question. Because we have the debate after that. I don't know at what time you're speaking on the debate, but I'm sure you will be speaking again on the debate. So keep some of it for the debate, please. Next, second question, please.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. With regard to the Cabinet decision taken on the 16th of June for the setting up of 2 interministerial committees to examine matters related to the basic retirement pension. One, I understand, one of the committee will be chaired by the Honourable Minister himself. Will he provide details to the terms of reference of that committee and the time frame?
Very short and to the point.
Our aim is to finalize everything before the implementation of the transition from BRP 60 to 65. So that is 1st September. Secondly, the terms of reference, I can speak, the terms of reference is quite explicit in the Cabinet decision, but I will give further details on the one that I'm chairing. The committee on the health-related inability to work will not only include in a reform of the whole medical board and assessment that we've known since independence. It will also include the reviewing and the reform of the whole assessment, and will be applied, whatever will be applied to people from the age of 60 to 65 will also be applied to any citizen with disability in Mauritius. This will be a historical reform that the committee will be studying, and I count and I rely on the support of all the ministers. This will be a major reform. Don't worry, you will see it when it will come.
Third question.
Yes. Will the Honourable Minister inform the House, this is a straight question, this one, whether he is agreeable for a ciblage system for the allocation of basic retirement pension?
Ciblage has been part of our history in the 1950s. It has been part of the decision of the previous government. All options will be studied and looked at by the committee. I need to read this. I wish to draw the attention of the leader of the opposition the first committee, to look into the possible support to those persons aged 60 and 65 employed in sectors with difficult working conditions, and eventual means-tested eligible housewife mothers. So it's not a blanket application of means-tested. One of the means-tested, kind of reviewed means-tested, might be derogation of some of the sectors that are already in law, and maybe enlarging it to other sectors.
Fourth question.
Yes, thank you, Madam Speaker. Since the Honourable Minister mentioned his friends from the trade unions, and also in the communiqué issued by his party, and I quote, le parti estime qu'il est primordial que les Mauriciens se mobilisent et se fassent entendre sur les questions qui touchent fondamentalement leur acquis. May I ask the Honourable Minister whether he will participate in the rally organized by trade unions this Saturday at Champ de Mars? His party or himself?
There's no need to answer. There's no need.
I can answer. Yeah. I've never saw you in any of the demonstrations in this country, if you want this kind of reply. Second, it's because we have heard the trade unions, because we have heard the people of Mauritius, that we work night and day during the past week to bring up these 2 important ministerial committees, and the ministerial committees will study and will invite the people of this country to bring the input what might be changed or not. And I will conclude, Madam Speaker, that worry not the treason of 2020, we would be there.
We've got two more questions, Madam Speaker. Will the Honourable Minister inform the House whether there will be an increase in the basic retirement pension for the next financial year, that is 2025-2026, as promised by the government?
This,
You've already answered.
you're already, and it's in the budget. You can study the budget if you have time.
It's not in the budget.
He has
Madam
another
Speaker.
question. He has another question.
No, but we have the budget speech here.
He can't reply better than that. Mr. Duval, the leader of the opposition has announced two questions. But later on, wait. You have a last question, you said. You can't do better. He won't. I can't.
There won't be an increase then, if this is the case. Now, in view of the public outcry, Madam Speaker, since the announcement of this measure, will government consider cancelling this decision?
Is it for you to reply to that? Is it for him? You're
It's-
asking one minister.
Decide for him, Madam Speaker.
Okay.
Yes,
I'm asking.
the cabinet has taken a decision. The decision has been communicated to the public. The House knows the decision, and any consideration will be looked by the two ministerial committee and with this government, who have never betrayed the people.
Mr. Duval, yes?
Speaker, just firstly, the government n'a jamais plébiscité le peuple pour une réforme de repousser l'âge de la pension. Aujourd'hui, le public reproche le manque de consultation. Le gouvernement a pris la décision de
I
mettre en
want a
place.
question.
Est-ce que la communauté mauricienne dans son ensemble aura l'opportunité de participer aux consultations et comment continue de mettre en place justement un comité large de consultation au-delà du comité ministériel?
I'm going to stop the whole thing in 2 minutes, okay?
The two interministerial committee will decide on the framework for consultations.
Okay. Okay. One last one.
One last question. Now, with regard to promises made by the government during the electoral campaign, does government still intend to implement the decision to pay double pension to widows as canvassed before the elections?
Our mandate is a five-year mandate. Whatever we have to do, we'll do it during the next years within our mandate, okay? And we don't have many lessons to take from the MSM.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Time is up now. Thank you, Leader of the Opposition.
Motion.
Thank you, Minister. Motion, yes?
Yes, Madam Speaker, I beg to move that all the business on today's order paper be exempted from the provisions of paragraph 2 of Standing Order 10.
Yes. The question is that all the business of today be exempted from paragraph 2 of Standing Order 10. Those in favour say aye, those against say no. Yes, the ayes have it.
Statements by ministers, none. Public bill, second reading.
Yes, Honourable Minister of Public Service and Administrative Reform. Floor is yours.
Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Keep an eye on the time. Huh?
Yes, Madam
You
Speaker.
have time, but keep an eye.
Madam Speaker, I don't stand before this Assembly with neither the intention to defend the leader of this House, nor the leader of the Labour Party, because I fundamentally believe that this person, who is the Prime Minister of our country, is fully capable of defending himself. Madam Speaker, I stand before this House as a patriot to defend my nation, our people, and the future of our country. Demagogues are all over. Comment dire, en créole, petit serpent moyen, gros serpent peut sortir dans tout trou. Peut une simple division, peut créer division entre nous.
Not more in Creole.
Some,
please. Not more
yes,
in Creole.
yes, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, some unscrupulous people tend to forget that beyond cheap politics lie the fate of our country. Instead, they want to stop our country to move forward in a structured, responsible, and accountable manner. Madam Speaker, just to think that this country and the financial responsibility of a government is all about giving allowances is nothing else but a patronizing, irresponsible, short-sighted view of certain individuals who apparently give the impression that our people and our nation only crave for arms and not capable of standing up responsibly with a clear mind, with all its mighty against adversity, to build a sustainable economy to ensure that tomorrow is a legacy to be handed over to our children with pride and satisfaction. Madam Speaker, a clear word of caution to the demagogues with their demagogies. Beware. It has always been the case that truth and sincerity will prevail in the face of minds full of darkness, spreading lies and insanity for political gains. L'ironie du sort, Madame la Présidente, il se déclare comme le prince héritier du symbole soleil, mais dépasse sa malhonnêteté et ses mensonges. Il traîne la ténèbre dans ses pattes. Le diable, quand il est venu au pouvoir, arrête.
Minister,
Il dit qu'il sera au pouvoir.
I can see what you're trying to do. I am reminding everybody that we are dealing with the issue of Creole, and please don't push me too much. We are dealing with this, and hopefully we're coming with something soon. So please respect the standing orders.
Yes, ma'am, Speaker. Il dit qu'il va être au pouvoir.
Voilà.
Il doit s'arrêter de rêver. Courage de Patina. Tu fais faire sa vie, la vie de la cuisine.
Minister,
Tu as détruit l'économie de notre pays.
voilà.
Tu as pris le peuple.
Excuse me for a moment. Don't think that I'm in love with French or English. It's just that you must respect
Yes,
what
ma'am.
we have decided in this house. You must respect.
Yes,
and you
ma'am.
must respect me.
Yes, Madam Speaker. And I do. Tu as détruit l'économie de notre pays. Tu as pris l'argent du peuple que tu as donné à ta famille d'Amaradiva par milliards. Tu as pris l'argent du peuple à coups des milliards pour les Judas renommés. Pravin, tu as pris l'argent du peuple pour faire des cadeaux par milliards. Abdullah, Sonat, Chetty, Bikari, Gopi. Aïe, me fatigué. Tu as créé.
I'm going to suspend the sitting.
I'm sorry.
I am going to suspend the sitting the next time that
Yes,
you
Madam
have
Speaker.
just promised me. So what is your promise worth?
Yes, Madam Speaker.
This is the last time, otherwise I'm suspending the sitting. Je ne suis pas une maîtresse d'école, hein? Ni une mère fouettarde.
Yes, Madam
Mais
Speaker.
il va falloir qu'on travaille d'appeler les règles.
Yes, Madam Speaker. Tu as créé le MIC pour dévaliser la Banque des Maurice. Toi et ta savate de deux, tu as détruit et dévalisé le fonds du NPF. tu as fini par détruire l'image même des Mauritius. Michel Lejonga,
No,
Honorable for Mr. Lejonga, Honorable for
no,
Honorable Leader of the Opposition,
that's better.
votre leader et vous avez défoncé la caisse du CWA. Hier, vous n'étiez pas là à l'écouter. Je le répète, au coût des 700 millions des roupies. Monsieur Lejonga, leader de l'opposition, vous avez failli à assumer vos responsabilités, même au CIB, dont liés à des risques des blackouts. Et je prends vos mots, monsieur, leader de l'opposition. Païsa Naïba, Pani Naïba, Couron Naïba.
Non, ça suffit. Ça suffit. Ça suffit. Si ça continue, je vais lever la séance.
Vous avez volé ce peuple.
D'abord, monsieur le ministre.
Au vu.
Monsieur le ministre, asseyez-vous. Monsieur le ministre, d'abord, vous vous adressez à la présidente de l'Assemblée. Deuxièmement, ne faites pas ce petit jeu-là entre les langues, parce que je sais très bien qu'est-ce qui se passe. Moi, je parle plusieurs langues, hein. Vous le savez. J'adore l'anglais, j'adore le français et j'adore le créole. Je ne parle malheureusement pas bhojpuri. Nous n'allons pas faire ce petit jeu. On peut le faire comme ça une fois, symboliquement. Deuxièmement, vous vous adressez à moi, vous ne vous adressez pas directement au leader de l'opposition. Vous vous adressez to the speaker. Otherwise, honestly, I will have to suspend the sitting.
I duly take note, respectfully, Madam Speaker. Il y avait un autre mot, Bhojpuri, je vais m'en passer. And then, Madam Speaker, when the figures didn't add up, then budgets were tampered with, not to say forged, by irresponsibly inflating the GDP and decreasing the budget deficit, leading to fictitious fund allocations to mislead the people of a whole nation. Et ensuite, pour boucher les trous, prenons les mots d'un beau et bon parleur, ils ont parti imprimer des billets. Ils sont partis imprimer des billets. And, Madam Speaker, we heard the Honourable Leader of the Opposition saying that there is money. Then it is legitimate to ask Pravin and Padachi, sir, if you had money, then why you failed to duly pay over 1,000 workers for the work done during the COVID period, which amounts to almost 2 billion rupees, is still owing. Des milliers de travailleurs et majoritairement, Madame la Présidente, of low-income earners. If you had money, sir, why didn't you clear the mess you left with pack and blisters? If you had money, then why you left, amongst other things, STC, CUB, CWR, SBM, Air Mauritius with billions of debt? If you had money, then tell us why. You took over in 2014. Moody graded our country then BAA1. And in the time you were in government, our country was downgraded to the verge when investors, offshore business, and financial sector is seriously jeopardized as you left us at the doorstep of a junk state. Worst of all, Pravin, you taxed us on petrol for COVID vaccines. And dishonest that you are, we still owe the company that provided these vaccines by millions. Madam Speaker, the reckless acts and doings of Pravin Jagannath and his ministers, such as the leader of the opposition, jeopardized the safe Hajj pilgrimage this year, when the supplying company of vaccines refused to supply vaccines unless millions of rupees of outstanding debt was settled first. Madam Speaker, we are thankful to personal intervention of people like Honorable Mr. Bichu, Honorable Minister Mohammed, that needful was done in time. And these people have the audacity to pretend to be high and almighty and give lessons to good governance. Monsieur Pravin Jagnat, vous n'avez aucun droit moral ou quoi que ce soit à nous donner des leçons. Madam Speaker, undeniably, it is human nature. Who doesn't like to be popular, appreciated, loved, and sometimes even flattered, especially politicians? Madam Speaker, do we have to be geniuses to know that the measures announced in the budget 2025-2026 by the Minister of Finance were going to be difficult? Then we don't have to be geniuses neither to realize that for someone to stand up and present such measures, that person must have courage in his veins. For him to stand fiercely in the face of adversity and to decide in the interest of a better tomorrow for our country and our nation. What are the complaints, Madam Speaker? Our youths have got this to say to you. Our youths, to whom, Madam Speaker, I relate to as my sons and daughters for the future of our country. What do you wish the youth of our country? A country of beggars, a nation without pride, a country with its investors fleeing away as it crumbles to bankruptcy? This government is concerned in investing in the youth of our country. From the very early age, government is providing all the necessary support to the youth in developing their potential in all aspects of life. It is a Labour government that brought free education, free transport, and invested massively in the constructions in educational establishments from the time of the father of our nation jusqu'à présent, Premier ministre, digne fils de sa Siusaga et de notre nation mauricienne. Madam Speaker, education is free at all levels, from pre-primary to tertiary. Government is providing 11 million rupees for youth development programs and 20 million rupees for smart youth programs. Additionally, the government is setting up 7 sports academies with a solid conviction to professionalize the sports sector and promote the well-being of our young people. 1.1 billion rupees has been allocated to the Minister of Youth and Sports, and we have trust and confidence in Honourable Minister Dharmalingam to successfully realize the vision of the government as well as the aspirations of our youths. I must underline that the Honourable Minister, for the first time, organized and personally attended a one-day recreational event in Amaury, a small village found in our constituency, Piton-Rivière-du-Rempart. Recently, it was highly appreciated to see him in Karo-Kaltis, another remote area where attention of all, one and all, is required. Better employment opportunities for our youth will be provided through in-depth structural reforms in the economic landscape for them to contribute to the progress of our nation. This budget is laser-focused on creating well-paid jobs and fostering an innovative economy design for the young generation. Government is introducing new fiscal incentives under the innovative Mauritius scheme. 2025-2026 budget introduces transformative income tax reforms designed to empower youth by reducing financial burdens and stimulating economic participation. By simplifying the tax bands, exempting annual income tax up to 500,000 rupees, taxing the next 500,000 rupees at only 10%, and capping the highest rate at 20%. The policy removes 44,000 individuals from the tax net entirely, with 81%, as said before, of employees paying no income tax. This directly benefits young professionals and entrepreneurs, allowing them to retain more earnings for skill development, innovation, or savings. This, coupled with incentives like over 150,000 rupees AI tax deduction for startups and equity funds for young entrepreneurs. The reforms foster a conducive environment for youth-led economic growth, aligning with the vision of tomorrow. Furthermore, the proposed new tax regime in itself will, as Honorable Utim said, provide more money directly from the earnings to the pocket of the employees, of the workers. They will not be asking for arms allowances. They will have money at hand. Madam Speaker, I shall touch briefly on the welfare state.
Keep an eye on the time, please.
Yes, Madam Speaker. Certain individuals tend to erroneously spread the idea that the welfare state is being dismantled. Madam Speaker, it is to be noted that our welfare state has been established under the hallmark of the Labour government, under the hands of the father of the nation, and therefore, casting such aspersion can only be attributed to sheer and utter bad faith. It is to be pointed out that government has shown its commitment to preserve the national well-being of its citizens by reinforcing social protection measures, such as this government has maintained the minimum income of 20,000 rupees. Over and above 70 billion rupees have been provided for the Ministry of Social Security and Social Integration. Thank you. After which 53 billion rupees have been earmarked for payment of basic retirement pensions. Widows and invalids benefits have been maintained by this government in its 2025-2026 budget. Madam Speaker, I turn now to my own ministry. Madam Speaker, digital transformation and new technologies, especially AI, are vital for public sector reform, changing how citizens engage with government and governmental service. The budget of 2025-2026 highlights AI's importance, and due allocations to the public sector AI program. This will provide all ministries with AI tools, boosting policymaking and service delivery, and signaling a commitment to a future-ready public service. Aligned with the Ministry of Information Technology, Communication and Innovations, Digital Transformation Blueprint, my ministry piloted the Electronic Document Management System, i.e. the EDMS. This system automates document management, cutting delays and costs while increasing transparency. The budget of 2025-2026, allocations have been made to expand the EDMS across the public service. My ministry also successfully piloted the electronic scheme of public service, the ESOS. This dramatically speed up scheme management from month to real time. The budget has allocated funds to roll out the ESOS across the public service as well. This enhanced ESOS system will use AI to empower HR staff, enabling efficient development and updates of schemes of service to attract top talent for citizen-centric public service. Moreover, Mr. Speaker, good governance is the cornerstone of a thriving nation, fostering transparency, accountability, and the efficient use of resources for the betterment of all our citizens. However, for the past decade, Mauritius has witnessed a grim reality, a decline in our international rankings, notably in the Corruption Perception Index and the Mo Ibrahim Index of African Governance. In the Corruption Perception Index, Mauritius has regressed in the last 10 years. Similarly, in the Mo Ibrahim Index of African Governance, while Mauritius ranked first in overall governance in 2014, in the last 10 years, it has shown warning signs, and I quote, and an increasing deterioration in several categories. End of quote. Our people have endured corrupt practices, spiraling out of control as never before, where greed had advanced to a state of limitless rapacity. The previous administration, unfortunately, stifled good governance, demonstrating a blatant disregard to established rules and regulations. This in turn crippled the system, bringing progress and trust to a grinding stall. My ministry intends to work closely with the Financial Crimes Commission and other similar bodies to not just enforce good governance, but to embed it as an unwavering standard across the entire public service. Moreover, I'm pleased to note that the Public Service Commission and the other commissions dealing with recruitment in the public service have regained their lettre de noblesse. Recruitment will now be conducted in a transparent, fair, and impartial manner, where meritocracy remains the sole criterion for serving in the public service. Mr. Speaker, no more letters issued at the desk of ministries. No more police officers appointed joining training directly at the caserne. No more issuing letters of appointment at Bureau Cab. Everything is transparent. Everything is based upon meritocracy. My ministry is actively elaborating a new public sector reforms strategy, 2025-2029, which is meticulously aligned with the government program presented earlier. Our nation's blueprint for Mauritius, A Bridge to the Future, Digital Transformation 2025-2029 as well. Our public sector reform strategy puts a significant focus on strengthening governance, ensuring a future where accountability, integrity, and transparency prevail, and it is always high on the agenda. Madam Speaker, in order to fast-track reforms initiatives, my ministry is also introducing the public reforms scheme with an initial provision already earmarked in the budget of 2025-2026. This scheme is a strategic and transformative initiative designed to enhance the effectiveness and responsiveness of our institutions. It is focused on improving process, strengthening institutional structures, promote the adoption of innovative technologies through the sandbox framework, and empowering our public officers with the skills and mindsets required to lead change. Madam Speaker, to ensure that reforms are not only well conceived but also effectively implemented, paragraph 210 of Budget Speech 2025-2026 highlights the setting up of reforms and innovation units in all ministries and departments. These units will be led by designated directors of reforms who will drive the reform agenda from within, working closely with the respective accounting officers and my ministry to ensure coherence and accountability. Madam Speaker, one of the foundation pillars of this strategy is the introduction of a public sector reforms bill as a key measure announced by the Prime Minister and Minister of Finance in his budget speech. Madam Speaker, I am pleased to announce that my ministry has finalized the terms of reference for the recruitment of a consultant to revamp and digitalize the performance management system in an objective manner. Since the time it was put in place to the present time, it is dysfunctional. We are revamping it to make it objective, proper, and a source of motivation to our public officers. Madam Speaker, a short note on the training and capacity building. It is common knowledge to one and every one of the functioning of the Atal Bihari Vajpayee Institute of Public Service and Innovation. But we are adding to that place a new section which will be concerned with a public sector innovation research lab. Such a lab exists in countries like Singapore, UAE, and India. This lab will function as a national hub for experimentation, co-creation, and problem solving, where public officers, academics, technologists, and citizens can work together to redesign public services and delivery models, prototype new administrative processes, streamline workflows, and apply human-centered design thinking to governance challenges. Its goal is clear, that is to improve operational efficiency, reduce bureaucracy, and foster a smooth, agile public service that is responsive to the needs of citizens. Madam Speaker, the budget has put emphasis on research and development, backed by a sum of 200 million rupees for policy-driven research. This in itself is a game changer. In the past, public service decisions were often made based on inertia or intuition. Now, we are institutionalizing knowledge-based governance. Ministries and departments will work with a research center at the Institute to generate insights that improve program design, service, research, and impact. We're laying the groundwork for citizen-centric, tech-enabled, research-informed public service one that listens, learns, adapts, and above all, delivers. This budget has taken into consideration the well-being and welfare of public officers. Allocations have been made to ensure that the Public Officers Welfare Council operates and has as its operational modus its post-Skipfield programs to well-being as well as cultural initiatives. Madam Speaker,
You concluded?
yes. Madam Speaker, in conclusion, I had a few words in Creole, but I will avoid that. As rightly advised by yourself, Madam Speaker. In conclusion, this budget is bold. This budget is courageous. This budget is of vision to be able to govern. As our Prime Minister has always said, we need to have clear vision. Madam Speaker, I come to the end of my contribution towards this budget. Thank you.
Thank you. I think there's consensus that we can break now for 1.5 hours. You'll count, we'll ring the bell.